In the frigid winter of 1940 Soviet Russia, a group of researchers embarked on a nightmarish experiment deep within the confines of a secret government facility. Their goal was to uncover the limits of human endurance, particularly in the realm of sleep deprivation. 5 political prisoners were chosen for the experiment, each with a past shrouded in secrecy. They were confined to a chamber that was meticulously sealed off from the outside world, equipped with only a dimly lit room, a few cots, and enough rations to sustain them for a month. The researchers, a group of scientists and military personnel, watched from behind thick glass windows as the prisoners settled in for their ordeal. The prisoners had been promised their freedom if they could withstand 30 days without sleep. At first, the prisoners behaved normally, chatting and playing cards to pass the time. As the hours stretched into days, however, strange things began to happen. They became irritable, experiencing mood swings that escalated into violent outbursts. The researchers observed with growing unease as the prisoners' physical appearance deteriorated, their eyes bloodshot, their faces pale and haggard. On the 5th day, one of the prisoners began to scream uncontrollably, tearing his vocal cords in the process. His fellow inmates paid no attention, seemingly unaffected by his agony. They whispered among themselves in a language the researchers couldn't understand, their voices increasingly unintelligible. By the end of the 2nd week, the chamber was filled with an overpowering stench of sweat and fear. The prisoners had ceased communicating entirely, opting instead for eerie, wordless conversations through gestures and grimaces. Their eyes had taken on a vacant, distant stare, as though they had glimpsed something beyond the confines of reality. As the experiment neared its conclusion, the prisoners' physical conditions worsened. They exhibited symptoms of extreme paranoia, convinced that the researchers were their enemies, and that they needed to stay awake at any cost. They took drastic measures to remain awake, using shards of broken glass to mutilate themselves, and even resorting to self-cannibalism. The researchers, horrified by the unfolding nightmare, debated whether to terminate the experiment prematurely. However, the Soviet authorities insisted that they press on, eager to glean any potential military applications from the data. On the 15th day, the chamber fell eerily silent. The researchers peered through the glass, expecting to find the prisoners incapacitated or dead. Instead, they were met with a sight that chilled them to their core. All 5 prisoners stood motionless, their eyes fixed on the glass, their lips curled into grotesque smiles. They had taken their own lives, leaving behind a message smeared on the chamber walls in blood. We no longer need the sleep. The true horror of the Russian sleep experiment, it seemed, was not the effects of sleep deprivation, but what had been unleashed within the minds of those unfortunate prisoners. The facility was sealed off, and the experiment was buried in secrecy, a chilling reminder of the depths humanity could descend when driven to the brink of madness